When the weight of the world feels unbearable, when the road ahead seems dark and uncertain, and when every effort to move forward feels like pushing against an immovable wall, it is easy to feel discouraged. But let me remind you today, do not lose hope. God has not forgotten you. He sees every tear you have cried, hears every prayer you have whispered, and knows every unspoken fear in your heart. He will lead you through this tough situation. Trust Him, and be patient, for His plans are greater than anything you can imagine. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and breathe deeply. As you exhale, let the tension you carry leave your body. Picture a loving Father watching over you with gentle eyes, holding you close in the midst of your storm. This is not the end of your story. In Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11, the Lord says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." If the God who created the heavens and the earth has a plan for you, then this trial you are facing is only a chapter in your testimony. It is not the conclusion. God is writing a masterpiece, and the darkest moments often lead to the brightest victories. Think about Joseph, a man who was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison for a crime he did not commit. Yet Joseph never lost hope. He trusted that God was with him, even when his circumstances seemed hopeless. In Genesis chapter 50 verse 20, Joseph speaks words of incredible faith. "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Friend, your situation may feel like a prison right now, but God is preparing you for something greater. What was meant to harm you, He will turn into a blessing. I remember a story from my own life that taught me the power of trusting God. Years ago, I faced a financial crisis that seemed impossible to overcome. Bills piled up, creditors called daily, and no solution seemed in sight. I prayed, but each day felt heavier than the last. I began to doubt if God was listening. One night, I cried out in desperation, "Lord, where are you? Have you forgotten me?" In that quiet moment, I felt a gentle prompting in my spirit to read Psalm chapter 46 verse 10. "Be still, and know that I am God." Those words pierced through my fear and reminded me to trust Him, even when I could not see a way forward. The next morning, an unexpected opportunity came my way that not only resolved my financial crisis but also opened doors I had never imagined. That season of struggle was not wasted. It deepened my faith and taught me that God's timing is perfect. I want you to hold on to that truth today. You may not see the way, but God is already working behind the scenes on your behalf. Waiting on God can be challenging, but patience is a virtue that bears fruit in its season. In Isaiah chapter 40 verse 31, we are reminded, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Waiting does not mean doing nothing. It means trusting actively, praying fervently, and believing wholeheartedly that God will come through for you. Perhaps you are facing a broken relationship, and the pain feels unbearable. Or maybe you are dealing with a health challenge that has left you weary and afraid. I want you to picture the story of the woman with the issue of blood in Mark chapter 5 verses 25 through 34. For 12 long years, she suffered. She had spent all she had on doctors, yet her condition only grew worse. But when she heard about Jesus, she did not let the crowd or her weakness stop her. She pressed through and touched the hem of his garment, believing that even the smallest contact with him could change her situation. And it did. Jesus turned to her and said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." Friend, there is power in holding on to your faith. It does not matter how long you have been in this storm. Jesus is able to speak peace into your life. When you reach out to Him with even the smallest measure of faith, miracles happen. Do not let your circumstances convince you otherwise. God's power is not limited by time, resources, or the opinions of others. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Let me tell you another story about a man I met during a hospital visit. He had been battling cancer for years, and the prognosis was grim. Yet when I walked into his room, he greeted me with the brightest smile I had ever seen. I asked him how he managed to stay so joyful despite his condition. He looked at me and said, "Pastor, I know my God is with me. Whether he heals me here or takes me home, I win because I am in his hands." That man's unwavering faith inspired everyone around him, including the doctors and nurses. And let me tell you, God did a miracle in his life. Against all odds, he went into remission and is alive and well today. The Apostle Paul knew what it meant to face adversity. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verses 8 through 9, he wrote, "We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." You may feel pressed, perplexed, or even struck down, but God will not let you be destroyed. He will lift you up in due time. Remember, the same God who parted the Red Sea for the Israelites and calmed the storm for the disciples is the God who is with you now. He has not changed, and his love for you is unshakable. As I bring this to a close, I want you to reflect on the story of Job. He lost everything: his wealth, his health, and his children. Yet in Job chapter 13 verse 15, he declares, "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him." Job's faith remained unshaken, and in the end, God restored everything he had lost, giving him double for his trouble. That is the God we serve, a God who restores, redeems, and brings beauty from ashes. Do not lose hope. God is leading you through this valley, and when you come out on the other side, you will see the purpose behind your pain. Trust him and be patient. In the words of Psalm chapter 27 verse 14, "Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." Your breakthrough is coming, and when it does, you will testify of his goodness. Until then, keep pressing forward in faith. Speak life over your situation, pray without ceasing, and surround yourself with others who will encourage you. Remember, God is for you, not against you. He is your refuge, your strength, and your ever-present help in times of trouble. Trust him, for he is faithful to lead you through. The best is yet to come.